Lucille Ball was America's comedy queen, the red-haired icon who lit up television screens, redefined sitcom history, and made millions laugh even on their darkest days. But behind the laughter, behind the perfectly timed jokes and groundbreaking TV moments, Lucy lived a life tangled with secrets, heartbreak, and decisions she carried quietly until the end. Her marriage to Desi Arnaz was one of the most talked about relationships in Hollywood. They were the couple fans adored, fiery, passionate, wildly talented, and unstoppable when they worked together. But their private life was far from the picture-perfect romance the world believed in. What most people never knew was that Lucy herself carried stories she protected for decades. Stories that could have changed Hollywood forever. And late in her life, when she finally felt she had nothing left to hide, she confessed something shocking. She had affairs with 6 well-known actors. 6 names she never intended to share publicly. 6 men whose identities stunned those who heard them. These weren't casual encounters. Each affair came during moments of loneliness, emotional turmoil, or desperate attempts to escape the pressure of fame and her turbulent marriage. Some were brief, some were intense, and one nearly destroyed her career. Those closest to her say it wasn't scandal she was revealing. It was pain. These confessions were never meant to reach the public. But now, the truth is finally coming to light. And the names on her list will surprise even her biggest fans. Who were these 6 actors? Why did Lucy keep these affairs hidden for so long? And what pushed her to reveal them in the final chapter of her life? Long before Lucille Ball became the queen of television, she was a young actress desperately trying to survive in an unforgiving Hollywood. The industry was glamorous on the surface, but underneath the bright lights lay insecurity, competition, and a loneliness she couldn't escape. When Lucy met Desi Arnaz, she believed she had finally found the one person who made the chaos bearable. Their chemistry was electric. Their attraction was instant. Their passion was the kind that swept both of them off their feet. Intense, intoxicating, and unpredictable, but passion, as Lucy would later confess, is not the same thing as peace. Their marriage was filled with love, but also arguments, jealousy, and long stretches apart. Desi's touring schedule, his fame as a musician, and the temptations around him created fractures that widened over the years. Lucy pretended everything was fine for the cameras, but privately she spent countless nights feeling abandoned. She wanted stability. Desi wanted freedom. And for a woman as emotionally driven as Lucy, the distance was unbearable. Hollywood at the time was a world where studio executives controlled everything, from publicity to marriages. Image mattered more than honesty. Lucy's rising fame brought expectations, scrutiny, and pressure she had never experienced. She was becoming a star, but with that stardom came an emptiness she didn't know how to fill. And in that emotional vacuum, her first affair began. It happened with an actor she had known for years. A man who offered her comfort when she felt most neglected. He wasn't as famous as Desi, but he understood Lucy in a way few people did. They worked together early in her career, and he admired her wit, her drive, and her vulnerability. Their friendship slowly turned into something deeper during a period when Desi was frequently away. For Lucy, it wasn't about desire. It was about being seen. The affair was short-lived, overshadowed by guilt and confusion. She cared for Desi deeply, and the idea of betraying him tormented her. But the emotional connection with this actor became her escape, a brief moment where she felt valued instead of forgotten. Hollywood insiders whispered about Lucy's mood swings during this time, but they never knew the truth. She hid her personal life behind jokes, rehearsals, and the relentless schedule of a woman fighting for a place in the industry. When Desi eventually returned, she ended the affair immediately. She wanted her marriage to work. She wanted the future they had promised each other. but the cracks in their relationship only widened. Desi loved Lucy, but his insecurities and lifestyle made fidelity difficult. He was charming, magnetic, and constantly surrounded by admirers. Rumors of his own infidelity spread frequently, some true, some exaggerated. Lucy found herself trapped in a cycle of longing and disappointment. She wanted partnership. Desi wanted adventure, and every time he drifted away, even emotionally, she drifted somewhere too, toward someone who made her feel alive again. Lucy kept her first affair a secret for decades, believing it was a moment of weakness she would never repeat. But it was only the beginning. As her fame grew and her marriage grew more unstable, she found herself forging connections that blurred the lines between friendship, admiration, and forbidden affection. And soon, the second affair, with a far more famous actor, would threaten not only her marriage, but her entire career. As Lucille Ball's fame skyrocketed in the early 1950s, the world saw a woman finally stepping into the spotlight she deserved. I Love Lucy was becoming the most beloved show on television, and Lucy and Desi were suddenly the most famous couple in America. But behind the scenes, success came with a price Lucy never anticipated. The pressure of carrying the show, producing episodes, managing studio expectations, and trying to keep her marriage alive left her emotionally fragile. And the more overwhelmed she became, the more the cracks in her relationship with Desi deepened. Desi's late-night absences, fueled by his fast-paced lifestyle and constant attention from admirers, left Lucy feeling abandoned at the height of her career. She wasn't just lonely, she felt invisible in her own marriage. And that's when a Hollywood leading man, one of the era's most sought-after actors, stepped into her life at the exact moment she was most vulnerable. He was handsome, powerful, and admired across the industry. Unlike the actor from her first affair, this man was a superstar, a household name whose presence dominated any room he walked into. The two met while working on separate projects at the same studio lot, and what began as casual conversation evolved into a friendship built on mutual respect and quiet longing. He understood the pressures of fame in a way few others could. He saw Lucy not as a comedian or a celebrity, but as a woman carrying the weight of the world on her shoulders. Their conversation stretched late into the evening. He listened to her fears, her frustrations, and her heartbreak. And slowly, something dangerous began to form between them, a connection Lucy knew she should resist, but couldn't. The affair began during a particularly painful period in her marriage. Desi had been away for weeks, and rumors of his infidelity had reached the tabloids. Lucy tried to keep her composure publicly, but privately she was unraveling. One night, after a long studio taping, the actor walked her to her car. She was exhausted, her eyes swollen from tears she refused to shed on set. He touched her hand gently, and in that moment, the line between comfort and desire disappeared. Their affair was more intense, more passionate, and far more dangerous than her first. They met secretly in private bungalows and remote residences, always careful, always aware that one mistake could destroy them both. He treated her with tenderness she hadn't felt in years. He called her brilliant, not just beautiful. He made her feel like a woman again, not just a performer trapped in a failing marriage, but Hollywood is a place where secrets rarely remain hidden. One evening, a studio security guard spotted the two slipping out of a back entrance together. Whispers began circulating among crew members. Studio executives picked up on the rumor. And because the actor was far more famous than most, the potential scandal was explosive. Lucy's entire career, built carefully by CBS, was suddenly at risk. A scandal of adultery, especially involving an actress at the height of family-friendly television success, could have ended I Love Lucy overnight. When Desi heard hints of the rumor, he exploded in anger. Not because he was innocent, but because Lucy's affair threatened the empire they had built together. Their fights grew louder, their trust shattered. Their marriage, already fragile, now balanced on the thinnest of threads. Realizing the danger, Lucy ended the affair abruptly, breaking both their hearts. She walked away not out of lack of love, but because she knew everything she had worked for could collapse if she didn't. For years, the incident haunted her. She kept his name buried deep inside her memory, knowing the truth would shake Hollywood to its core. But this was not the last time Lucy's loneliness pushed her into the arms of another man. Another affair was coming, one that would occur at the peak of her fame and involve an actor, even closer to her world. For decades, Lucille Ball was the queen of American television, an icon whose comedic brilliance brought joy into millions of homes. But behind the camera, she faced a whirlwind of personal battles, emotional turmoil, and complicated relationships that few ever knew about. As her fame skyrocketed, so did the pressures of maintaining a perfect Hollywood marriage, leading her into moments of vulnerability that shaped some of the most shocking revelations of her life. Lucille's marriage to Desi Arnaz was passionate, electric, and volatile. Their on-screen chemistry made them the nation's favorite couple, but behind the scenes, secrets brewed. Desi's infidelity, long work hours, and excessive drinking left Lucille feeling isolated and unloved. And in that loneliness, she found comfort in unexpected places, men who offered her emotional escape in a world where she was carrying the weight of an industry on her shoulders. One of the most surprising connections came early in her career when she worked alongside a handsome, well-established leading man. Colleagues reported how the two would disappear between scenes, whispering and laughing in quiet corners. For Lucille, it wasn't about scandal, it was about feeling valued during a time when her own marriage was slipping through her fingers. She confided to close friends that these moments helped her feel alive again, even if they left her with guilt afterward. Another rumored affair involved a rising star known for his intense screen presence. He admired Lucille's talent, respecting her in ways Desi often didn't. Their connection sparked quickly, fueled by shared ambition and the thrill of secrecy. Though short-lived, it left a lasting impact on Lucille, who later admitted she had been searching for something Desi couldn't give. Each relationship, whether emotional or physical, painted a fuller picture of a woman torn between love, loyalty, and her own unmet needs. These affairs weren't just tabloids. They were a reflection of the pain she carried behind every laugh track. And as Lucille once confided to a friend, comedy saved me. But it couldn't save everything. As Lucille Ball grew older, the truth became harder for her to carry alone. In private conversations, interviews never aired, and letters discovered years later, she admitted that some of her most intimate connections had been born not from desire, but from deep emotional wounds. She wasn't seeking scandal. She was seeking comfort, reassurance, and someone who could give her what Desi never consistently could: a sense of stability. One of the most surprising names she confessed to being involved with was a man she worked with during the height of I Love Lucy. He was charming, adored her, and treated her with gentleness during some of the most turbulent years of her marriage. Their relationship was brief, but for Lucille, it represented a moment where she could finally breathe, away from the chaos Desi brought into her life. Another affair came later in her career, with an actor known for his dramatic roles and intensity. Their bond was emotional more than physical: long conversations, quiet dinners, and moments when she cried on his shoulder. Lucille later revealed that he understood her better than anyone else she had ever known. But even then, she couldn't bring herself to leave Desi. She loved him too deeply. Even when he broke her heart, the remaining affairs, rumored but never publicly confirmed, were ones Lucille hinted at in her final years. She described them not as mistakes, but as chapters of a woman desperate to balance fame, love, and personal identity in a male-dominated industry. Each affair helped her navigate a life lived under blinding spotlights and brutal expectations. In one of her last private reflections, Lucille wrote, "I made people laugh, but inside, I cried more than they ever knew." It was a confession that shocked even her closest friends. Her affairs were never about disloyalty. They were the symptoms of a woman trying to survive the emotional storms of a legendary yet painfully complicated life. And today, when fans look back at Lucille Ball, they don't remember the rumors. They remember the laughter, the brilliance, and the woman who changed television forever. Her secrets only make her legacy feel more human.